Up, up, up.
Mama.
No.
Mama, here, Mama.
No, Rachel. Go on, up you go. Are we winning?
Ready?
I think we are winning. We are winning. Can you say it again? Winning.
A.
Winning.
A.
Winning.
A.
Winning.
A.
Winning. Okay, so Bubba's just going to join me for this training today. Actually, how I want to structure today. No, you can't get Mommy's boobies out on a live stream. That's not cool.
No.
No, no boobies.
What?
No boobies.
Milk.
No, you have to get your milk from over there, Joshua. Go and get your milk from there. Go and get your milk. It's just there.
Milk.
It's just there, bunny. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so I would love to know how you are. Where are you at with sales since we started on Monday? And how I want to structure today is I want to take any questions that you have. Any questions about practical implementation of anything we've discussed, any challenges that you're having. And then I'm going to give you a little task to do.
Right. Right.
You're meant to be having a nap, young man.
Right.
Not by. No, not by. Can you go get your milk?
Right.
That's spice, yeah?
Bye.
That's spice over there.
Now,
Yeah, that's spice.
sit down.
Andrea says, well, you know what I am at, lol. I do know where you're at. I do know where you're at. I do know. Andrea and I had a great call yesterday. So, any challenges that you want to get my support, my coaching, my mentoring, my advice on? Anything you want to celebrate? And then I'm going to give you a little task. Ruth says main challenge is reaching out after a breakaway. Oh, tell me more. By the way, I apologise. I've got a really sore throat today. Literally hurts to swallow. I might have to go and get some paracetamol. Hi Jamie, haven't managed to finish catching up, but here, amazing. Yeah, definitely catch up. Definitely catch up. And do any of you have, or have you had young boys? I swear, I spend half of my life as a mother of a young boy, trying to avoid tripping over cars at this point. Literally constant cars. Okay, I've got some ibuprofen here. Who does that? There's literally a closed empty packet here. It's all good in the hood. Yes, Angel. So let me know where you're at Any challenges? Anything you want to get a little bit of hot seat coaching on right now? Incredibly rare to get an opportunity to get hot seat coaching from me in a free program. So anything you want to get a hot seat coaching from me on, and then I'm going to give you a little task. Ruth says, only after a holiday and a pain in my leg that has been stopping me. Okay. Oh, okay. So you had a break. Okay. Okay, I wasn't sure what kind of breakaway you meant. Yes, Angel. Yes. Yes. Andrea says, oh, it really hurts to swallow. Joshua? How about fear of actually getting the client and working through helping them? So, if you have either a new business or a brand new offering, it's very natural to feel nervous about helping, how you're going to help them, yeah? Like exactly what that's going to look like, what the process is going to look like, what the structure is going to look like. And with those first few clients, for most people, they will be selling a very clear outcome. So let's say, for example, you're a marketing agency and you're selling, hey, I can help you get new clients. You might even specify the number, right? You might give a guarantee. You might say, I help you get 20 new clients per month or something like that, right? What's the matter? Come here. But you may not know exactly how you're going to do that for that specific client, because how you do that for that client may depend on what you learn about them, what you learn about their business, what you learn about what they need. And you may be testing out a new process with them. And that's absolutely fine. So you don't need to worry about having it all figured out and having that process be the same forever. But what you do need to do is you need to be willing to start with a process. Even if you end up refining it, even if you end up honing it, even if you end up adjusting it, you need to be willing to start with a process. And so I would encourage you, if you're not sure on what the process is, to think about, imagine that someone has come to you, could be that client, could be anyone, Imagine that someone's come to you and they're your ideal client, and they have the problems, the challenges that we looked at on day one. What's the first thing that you tell them to do? And then once you'd told them to do that, or once you'd walked them through that, or once you'd done that for them, what's the second thing that you tell them to do? Or the second thing that you'd do for them? Or the second thing that you'd help them do? And then from that, what's the third thing that you'd tell them to do? Or that you'd help them optimize, or that you do for them? And then what's the fourth thing? And then I want you to think about whether it's official paid clients, whether it's practice clients, whether it's people that you've supported or served in-house. Think about how many people you've actually given that advice to, given that service to, done that for over your life, and how it's gone. Yeah? So like for me, I had coached a lot of people before I ever started my coaching business. I had provided sales and marketing advice to a lot of businesses before I ever started my coaching business. And so even though I had some nervousness about doing that within the structure of a coaching business, and, you know, charging for the first time versus simply being paid by a salary or doing pro bono stuff, I knew that I had taken a large number of businesses through those exact processes. And then the more clients I worked with in my business, the more and the more confident I became. Okay, and that will totally happen for you as well. Let me see what Beck says. I think for me, I'm good at building relationships. It's transitioning into recommendation of my services, so I end up with a lot of friends. That's such a great question, Bex. Thank you for sharing that question. And I'm sure other people can maybe relate to that as well. And there was a period when I'd started my coaching training, but I hadn't yet started the business full time yet, where that was totally happening to me as well. And so how you overcome it is when you're clear what a friendship with you looks like versus what a coaching relationship with you looks like, yeah? Because you can actually, like, Bex will tell you this, Bex is my client, she's also my friend. When we're having a coaching conversation, it looks one way. When we're having a friend conversation, it looks a different way, yeah? So you can have a coaching relationship and a friendship with a person, not necessarily with everyone, right? There are people where you can't have both. It has to be one or the other, and that's okay. But you sort of it needs to be felt when you're in, friendship mode versus when you're in coaching mode. And I think one of the instances in which people really will choose being your friend over hiring you is if they feel like they're already getting coaching as part of the friendship. If they already feel like they're getting coaching freebies and they're getting you showing up for them as a coach and you giving them coaching style advice for free, then they will say, "Oh, you're such a great friend. I just adore you. When are you next free?" you know, and then you're like, oh, like, yeah, of course I was giving you some of my coaching talent, like, from my heart, but also, like, that's my thing, that's my profession. And then you kind of feel a bit crushed when they say that, you know, they just want to be your friend. So that's how you do it. You just don't go into the coaching zone. You still be you. You still be authentically you. You still be that radiant beam of light. You still be who you are. You still be unapologetically you and bold, and you let, you know, your high vibe energy shine, and you let your confidence shine and all of that. But you just don't go into coaching mode. No advice. No coaching. And it's the discipline. Because sometimes when you have a brand new business or a business that's struggling, you might feel like, yeah, Catherine, you're such a great friend. You might have this urge to kind of like do a bit of unsolicited coaching to almost like as a gesture of goodwill, and thinking that it's going to be a viable business development activity. And it's just not. The point at which it becomes a viable business development activity, and this is the same for any type of business, by the way, like offering your service free is not a viable business development activity for any service. So something like, so Bex recommended a flower service to me, and I think the flower service is offering me my first bouquet for free, right? That can work really well if what you're offering is a product and there's no like live delivery of that thing, yeah? Similarly, if you have I'm just thinking about this. If you have, for example, a home study program, or you have a book that you've written, or you have an online program that you've decided you want to make free for a certain period of time, or you're doing a designated free challenge and you've got multiple people in there, anything like that, that can absolutely work well as a way of both helping more people and as a business building activity or a business development activity. Hi, Sophie. However, offering your services, your very personalised, your highest level services for free, be it, you know, incorporating that into a friendship conversation or whatever else, is generally a bad idea, because when someone experiences something for free, they just kind of assume that therefore they're entitled to it free, and that therefore of course it's going to be free. And then it sets a precedent in their mind, and this can happen at a very unconscious level, but it sets a precedent, it sets an expectation. Oh yeah, I can rely on this person to give me some free, you know, equine massage, to give me some free coaching, to give me some free consulting, etc. Now, there may be very specific circumstances, like I said, like pro bono activities, or the other examples that I mentioned. Or you might say to a friend who's, you know, either in a pickle, or their goals totally match your ideal client, but maybe they don't have the budget, whatever. You might say, do you know what, I would love to gift you a 1 hour call to help you with this thing, yeah? When there's a very clear boundary and a very clear designated container, like, hey, I'd love to gift you this home study program. Hey, I'd love to send you this book. I'd love to gift you an hour. That can work really well. Yeah? And even if someone, let's say, isn't ready to actually pay for your services yet, they may find that so valuable and so beneficial that, like, the minute they can, they will. And actually, not just the minute they can, they will, but they will go out there and consciously create more money so that they can invest in your services properly. Yeah, that's not uncommon for people to do that. But when you're incorporating it into a friendship, it builds an expectation. So let me know if that helps. So I just say, you know, in a really, really loving way, if somebody's saying, you know, what should I do about this? Da 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 da. And it's like, you know, kind of quite a deep question. I would say something like, you know, I'd really love to answer that, but it's actually not a simple answer. We'd need to dig a bit deeper in order for me to answer that for you in the best way. And so what I would suggest is, if you want to do that, you can book a session with me. Or the other language that you can say is, you can say, you know, this is exactly the kind of thing that my clients come to me for, and that they know they can rely on me for. And if you're interested in becoming one, we can totally have a talk about that. Just let me know. Yeah, those kind of things can work well for kind of bridging that gap. And also making it clear that there's total unattachment there on your part. Like, you're like, you know, if you want to be a client, if you want to buy my services, amazing, I'd be delighted to help you. And if you don't, that's fine too. But, you know, unfortunately, I don't provide my services outside of, you know, a designated container, because it's not the best thing for you, it's not the best thing for me. It just doesn't have integrity. Ruth says, I find sometimes I give too much in the enrollment call. They take that as it moves them on, but then do not buy. Is that me proving myself? It always feels natural. That is such a great question. And I were talking how, you know, you guys, there's a few people in this group been through the same the same coaching academy. Oh my gosh. No, Joshua. No. Joshua, they're proud. Okay. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me now? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Andrea says yes. Sorry about that. I have full signal. I literally have full signal. Never mind. Ho hum. Okay, let me start answering Ruth's question again. I'm just relocating. Shh. Nice view of my chin there. Lost it from my question. Okay, all right. No worries. Let me just answer again then. So, Ruth said, I find sometimes I give too much in the enrollment call. They take that as it moves them on, but then do not buy. Is that me proving myself? It always feels natural. Okay, so what I was sharing was that, and Beck said, yes, really clear and useful guidance. I like the container concept. Yes, exactly. And clearly define the parameters of how you're giving the freebie. Yes. So what I said, Joshua, what I said is that a lot of coaching institutes will teach that that you should give like an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours in an initial coaching call, and you should just serve and then kind of let the sale take care of itself. And here's where the problem is with that. The first problem is they have not necessarily taught you to pre-qualify people. There's absolutely no harm in getting on the phone with someone and serving them before you talk about services or ask for money, etc. You know, you give them some kind of advice related to their problem that you're an expert on. There's no problem in doing that if you've pre-qualified someone and if you are giving within an appropriate energetic boundary. But what a lot of institutes teach is they teach you to overgive, and then you're kind of starting the relationship from a place of energetic imbalance where you're overgiving, and then there's that expectation of you to continue overgiving. Now, what I've found is a lot of busy people, they don't want or need you to have a free 60 or 90-minute conversation with them before they want to sign up to your services or buy your services. Busy people who know what they want, they just want to have a talk with you. They want to understand that you understand their needs pertinent to your area of expertise. They want to get a feel for your energy and to see if they like your energy. And then they want to find out what the next step is. Okay? So I don't do the whole, 90-minute... Sophie says, I read that in the Prosperous Coach. Yeah, I think it's also a thing that's recommended in the Prosperous Coach. I haven't read the Prosperous Coach for a while. And it's not like the worst thing in the world, but what I found is that particularly when you have a more well-established business, it falls very much out of alignment. And it can lead you to feel very, very drained, to feel very depleted, to even feel quite resentful. Actually, if you've given a 90-minute call to someone, you've totally flipped their paradigm of, and I'm talking to those of you here who are coaches right now, you've totally flipped their paradigm on its head. And then there's been no buy-in from them energetically in the form of money. They haven't had to complete any pre-qualifying questions. They're going to be high as a kite after that call, most likely, with any one of you here. But you're going to feel drained if they're then like, oh yeah, sounds good, but not sure if I'm ready, or yeah, sounds good, but sounds expensive. You're going to just feel crushed. You're going to feel dishonored. You're going to feel demotivated. You're going to feel deflated. So my personal suggestion is to have, if you have a free call, is to have your free call be between 15 and 20 minutes. And if you are on a free call of 15 to 20 minutes, by the way, that includes having the qualifying questions that we talked about a couple of days ago. So you make it clear. What's your biggest opportunity? What's your biggest challenge? Have you worked with a coach before? What do you want to get from this call? Yeah. If they have not completed those questions, they cannot book the call. If you do this in Calendly, they cannot book the call. Okay. So that's the first step of the buy-in, like the energetic buy-in, right? Is they've invested in taking the time to complete those questions. And I would also ask, what's your budget for coaching? Yeah, because people will expand their budget if they love you, but it's always good to know what's the budget that they have in mind. Yeah. And then if you make them an offer that matches that budget and they're like, oh, that sounds good, but actually I think I'd like to do more with you, then you let them know the additional investment, and then they let you know if they can make that work. Yeah. So my recommendation is to do a 15 to 20 minute call with pre-qualified people only. And if the call is going really well, you can ask the question, hey, how are you doing for time? Do you have another 15 or 20 minutes? Yeah? And then you're choosing on an individual basis. You're choosing on an individual basis. By the way, Joshua managed to send Sophie a picture this morning on WhatsApp stories. Who even knew that WhatsApp had stories? Joshua did, apparently. My little tech-savvy child. Then you're saying, hey, do you have another 15, 20 minutes? And then you're continuing the conversation. Yeah, but you're only doing that in the instance in which there is a connection there, there's a vibe there, you already know that it's a fit, and you just really want a bit more time to find out a bit more about them and flesh out the details of what's going to be the best fit for them. Okay, so that's my recommendation. And then I recommend in Calendly that you have it set up so that there's automatic buffer time. You're really annoying me now. So there's automatic buffer time between your calls so that you're never in a situation where a 15-minute call is booked in and it's going really well and the person's about to become a client and you just need 5 more minutes or 8 more minutes or whatever it is, but you have to jump off because you have another call, you know, bang on the 15-minute mark. So I would create buffer time in Calendly, which is something that you can do in the settings. Andrew says, makes sense. My first call was about 90 minutes and it was hard because I had so many issues and I had to keep bringing them back to what is it that they want. Yeah, it can be super, like, if a person is not really ready for you and not in the right space, doing, you know, a 60 or 90 minute free call with them can be incredibly draining and very mentally intensive. If they're all over the place and you're trying to bring them back, can be incredibly draining, especially for empaths. Ruth says, yes, very helpful. I'm so glad. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? And let me know if that helped. I swear, this child has no problem napping when he's at nursery, but when he's with me, he just refuses to nap. I think he's too excited. Bless him. Joshua, where's your milk? Can you go find your milk, please? Go get your milk and bring it to Mummy. Go get your milk and bring it to Mummy. It's just outside. Andrea says, yes, so much good guidance. Yeah, I'm so glad. So one of the things that I really want all of you to understand is that your sales process is yours. Your sales process is yours and you get to design it as you want it. So quite frankly, I don't give 2 flying Fs what anyone else is doing. If you don't want to do free initial calls, by the way, my free call became £97 2 years ago. It's been free for the last few months, but again, still they have to fill out the questions and it's just about to go back to paid. And that's what's aligned for me, right? So, you know, I know people who only sell over Messenger. I personally really like to get on the phone with someone because I like to get a feel for their energy. I like to understand them and ask them questions in a more verbal format. Joshua? But that's because that's what I like and that's what I choose. You can choose whatever works for you. Why are you saying no? Can you go get your milk, please? Ruth says, if you know they have little money, should we compromise? You know, if you want to have designated pro bono work that you do, where someone contacts you and they don't have budget and you create something different for them, or you create something that's entirely pro bono, you can totally do that. as to whether, I mean, they should still answer the questions. I'm just thinking about this. You know, there's been a few instances over the years where people have booked an initial call with me and they've said that their budget is very low. And so I know full well that they'll only be able to buy a home study program. But I still, if I see that their goals and challenges are a match for my zone of genius, I'll still talk to them and I'll still empower them and give them value. And then I'll just say, like, in terms of next steps, what I'd recommend is my home study program, like Monetize Your Magic, or my home study program, you know, my wealth consciousness program, or my home study program Flow. And then that will be the call to action. And I'll just recognize that, yeah, like, if I've spent time on the phone with them and they've like only bought a home study program, it's not necessarily going to be the most immediately profitable thing in the world, but that's fine, because what I'm committed to is giving people what they need rather than trying to make the most from them ASAP. Yeah. But again, that's a personal choice. There are people where they know if the person's budget is too low for their high-end services, they just won't get on the phone with them. And that's, you know, totally up to you. Again, this also speaks to the value and the benefit of when you do have a diverse range of offerings. When you have one-to-one, group, home study programs, masterminds, it's really great because you can cater to a range of budgets, and not just a range of budgets, but like a range of learning styles. Like some people learn best in groups, some people learn best one-to-one, etc. You can cater to those without it being an all or nothing conversation. I used to find it so depressing sometimes when I'd have initial calls with people. They didn't have any budget for one-to-one work. And I would feel so sad because I knew I could help them. I knew they needed me. I knew they needed my magic. And I would just be like, okay, let's leave it there then. Do you know what I mean? And so how I then dealt with that after a short time is I created a free Facebook group. That's the same Facebook group I have now, although it's gone through a few different name changes. And I would say to people, okay, no worries, jump into my free Facebook group anyway. I post a lot of content in there. You should get value and breakthroughs just from being in there. And if you want to talk about one-to-one later or in the future, just feel free to reach back out. So that would be my initial call to action after I first created my free group. Then after that, I then started creating live group programs. Then I turned some of those live group programs into home study programs. Then I created a mastermind type model that I killed a few months in because I launched it, I think when I was like 8 months pregnant or something, and then had Joshua and was like, actually I don't want to run a mastermind right now, so I killed it. Then, or retired it, I should say. I retired it. Then I launched another mastermind like a year and 2 months ago. Which is still running now, which I love. And then tomorrow I'll be sharing a brand new, more intensive, so that mastermind is like an ongoing, recurring thing. And tomorrow I'll be sharing a way to work with me for 6 weeks intensively in a group structure. That is a really exciting brand new way to work with me. So yeah, it's great when you have different options. It's so great because you can speak to someone, and as long as they've filled out those initial questions and you know, yep, I'm pretty sure I can help this person, and you speak to them and you're like, yep, and you could speak to them again, like I said, you can speak to them via Messenger, you can speak to them on the phone, and you think, yeah, I really know that my offerings can benefit this person. And I know specifically that this particular offering, like A, B, C, or D, or E, is going to benefit them. And then you recommend that to them. And then you say, how does that sound? And they say, that sounds absolutely perfect. And if they say, oh, I'm not sure, like I was hoping for something that was like higher touch or got more time with you, then you share that with them. And then you go from there. The other thing that I've personally found is when you give people multiple options. So for example, if someone knows that they want to do one-to-one work with me, and I know that they've got the budget to do one-to-one work with me, or they've got the willingness to invest in doing one-to-one work with me, then I will give them any range of anything between a single 90-minute call with me, or a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month program with me. And what I found is when you give someone a couple of different options, or you say, you know, you come up with me one-to-one, group, or in my mastermind, do you have any thoughts on which of those you'd prefer? People really like that. They really like feeling that sense of ownership and feeling that sense of that they're choosing versus they're being pushed in a particular direction. So again, I've had people who taught me in the early days to only ever offer like a 6 or 12 month one-to-one program and nothing else. And it's like, well, to me, that doesn't have integrity. It's about what do you know is going to be a fit for that person, and what you feel might be a fit for them. You may be feeling, actually, I think that it could be any one of these 2 or 3 things. And so you share the 2 or the 3 options and they go, yep, I want that one. Yeah. It's much more empowering to that person than saying, yeah, if you want to work with me, it's this. And actually someone that I know, I was looking to do some one-to-one coaching with, and Bex knows about this, a few months ago. And the person was like, yep, to work with me one-to-one, it's for a year and it's this amount of money. And it was, you know, a sizable amount of money. And I was just like, I felt like boxed in, and I felt kind of cornered. And that was actually nothing to do with his energy. I loved his energy. I loved who he was. But I felt cornered by only being given one option, and I didn't like it. And actually what I wanted was a smaller option. And probably if he'd given me the smaller option, I would have gone for the smaller option and then continued. You know, for example, someone might go for like a 3-month program with you. They do that 3-month program. They have an amazing experience. They renew that 3-month program 3 or 4 or 5 times. If they know that they can continue working on stuff with you that's important to them. But if in that initial contact point, the only thing you offer them is 12 months and they've never worked with you before, for a lot of people, for most people, it's going to be too much of a leap for them. They kind of want to test you out first. That's not necessarily true for everyone. There are unicorns who will just go, do you know what? I know we haven't done any work together before, or I know we haven't spent much time together before. Like they might have done like a 1-day event with you, or that kind of thing, but you know, I'm all in, right? And those people always exist. But the point is, in that instance, they're choosing that. They're choosing that. You're not cornering them into that. They're choosing that. They're saying, actually, do you know what, Ruth? Do you know what, Andrea? Do you know what, Bex? Do you know what, Sophie? I want to go all in. But again, we're coming from this spirit of knowing and believing that the client knows. The client has, you know, a huge amount of resources at their disposal, and they're going to know, trusting that they know what's right for them, trusting that they know what's best for them, trusting that also, like, you have a fairly good idea of what's right and best for them, but ultimately that it's for them to choose what's right and what's the best for them. Oh, you silly monkey. Okay? Exactly. You know, and I have had people who are like straight in, and by no means do I want you to think it's not possible, because it is possible, and actually it's even more possible when you give them options and they know that they're choosing that. Okay, any more questions before we finish for today? I hope this was helpful. I apologize for the toddler noise in the background. What are you even saying? What are you even saying? Why are you not napping? 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 You need to have a nap. Any other questions? I can stay on for another few minutes if anyone has any other questions. And then the task that I want to give you for today is I want you to tune into your higher self, tune into Source, tune into God, tune into all of the above, and ask, who do I know I need to reach out to today? And reaching out to them is not sending them a message saying, hey, I'd really like to work with you. Like, do you want to become my client? It's reaching out to someone and it's saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. How are things? Right? It's not creepy, especially if you're a woman. I think it's unfortunate that it can be creepy if a man says it, because it's often not. But it's not creepy to say, hey, I was thinking about you. How are things? In my experience, because I will do this often, like almost every day I will get a download that there's a person like who just I need to reach out to. And it's not like the download that I get isn't, oh, hey, reach out to this person because they might want to buy your services. The download is, reach out to this person, they need to hear from you. Or reach out to this person to check on how they are. Yeah? And then what will sometimes happen is I reach out to that person to check on how they are, and they will often say, you know, oh, thank you so much for reaching out. I've been thinking about contacting you, and da-da-da-da-da. Or, or they might say, sometimes people will say like, hey, like, are you free for coffee? Which is almost always a no from me at this point, because coffee is such like a weird, ambiguous, like, most of the people who will ask if you're free for coffee, with a few exceptions, will be people who want to pick your brains, and in like a weird in-betweeny zone. Like, they want some coaching, but they don't quite want coaching. You know what I mean? And so if it's a social thing, I will arrange a social thing. Don't do that, please. If it's a social, relationship, I'll arrange a social thing. But if they're like, you know, hey, are you free for coffee? I really want to ask you a couple of questions. I will then say, you know, happy to answer your questions. Do you want to book a call? The link is here. Yeah. But what I really want you to do in terms of your takeaway from today is tune inwards to who needs to hear from you. Who needs to hear from you? And just send them some love and see where it goes. Send them some love with total unattachment and see where it goes. And it might be someone that you're really familiar with. It might be someone you hardly know. It might even be someone you're not connected to and you've never met. The deeper your intuition is, the stronger your channel is to information from above, the more you will even get downloads about people you've never connected with before. Okay? Ruth says intuition tells us, and if we do not, there can be consequences later, i.e. they took a negative action that might have been avoided if we'd followed through. Yeah, totally. Totally. It may be that, you know, we felt that they needed us or needed something, we didn't reach out, and then something awful happened. Like I just found out recently that someone who I was having a conversation with about providing one-to-one coaching to this guy, who I followed up with him a couple of times and he didn't come back to me, and then I dropped it, and I could feel like he really, really needed me. But my rule at the time, I was very rules-based, and it was like, no, my rule is 2 follow-ups and that's it. Whereas now I'm like, I just feel into it. Some people I might not follow up with at all. Others I might follow up with 3 or 4 times. I will tune into what is actually aligned and what's in the highest good. I didn't follow up with him, and he sent out this email saying that basically his business had wasn't making him enough money, so he had to take a job, and then now he's back to doing his business full time again because he lost his job. He's very, very like authentic and very open. a bit too open, some might say. I couldn't possibly comment. But you know, my first thought when I read that was like, I should have just followed up with him, you know, 1 or 2 more times, and what might have happened? He might now, you know, have a thriving business rather than almost be starting from scratch again because he's taken a break, you know? So, yeah, let me know how you get on with that little homework, that little task. I'd love to hear, share in the group. Continue sharing any breakthroughs, challenges, questions in the group, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to be from the beach tomorrow. I'm really hoping I am going to find a good signal spot, but yeah, hoping that it's seamless. I'm sure it will be. And have a fantastic rest of your day. See you soon. Bye.